okay? My wife and I got married at 18 and had our first child at 18. And July 4th, my wife and I actually just celebrated our 25-year anniversary.
Wow.
Our daughter, thank you. Our daughter, who we had at 18 years old, is now 24, and she just got accepted into Hammond College, and there's probably going to be several other ones. She's a nurse right now. She graduated from Ursuline, and she's going to go on to become a nurse anesthetist. Some of you guys met my son. He's actually graduating from John Carroll in 2 years. So he'll graduate this year, even though he's only 19. He'll eventually go on to medical school, and I believe he's made a decision to do both medical and law. I'm not saying this to impress you. I'm saying this to impress upon you that if I could do these things, I got introduced into personal growth and development at 20. Because you imagine at 18, I had to work 2 jobs. Because I was on my own. I wasn't living at home, even though I was offered that. My father said I could have moved home and got my college education still paid for, because it was big in my household. Okay, 7 brothers and sisters. I told my dad, no, still got 3 little brothers and sisters you got to pay for. I'm going to do it. I did it. I'm going to do it. And I went off on my own. And the second year, I went to college for a year part-time and went to school. I was in the health club business. At 20, I went into sales, picked up my first self-development course, Tom Hopkins. How to Master the Art of Selling Anything. I don't have it here. I paid $165 for it. That thing has made me thousands of dollars over the years. My programs, my home study course, just so you know, it's $30 more, 23 years later. So it's a pretty good deal, okay? And it's better information. It's the best thing that's ever happened. I've become a seminar junkie ever since, and my goal was to become a motivational speaker. I don't know if you guys know, Bob Proctor came out. Here's the ticket. My son went with me, November 27th, 2007. And I'll explain to you the power of visualization. Since I wanted to become a motivational speaker, but I wasn't quite sure if I could be a motivational speaker, I said to Mr. Proctor, I said, Mr. Proctor, can you do me a favor while you're signing my son's book? Can you get ready to write a special message in my book? Because I want to do what you do. You probably hear this every seminar, but I want to do what you do. And he put down, if I can find it, nice presentation, June 2nd, which is my birthday, 2011, okay? And it says, best wishes, Bob Proctor. When I shook his hand, I did a double handshake, and I took a mental snapshot. So ever since then, I've been visualizing it morning and night, minimum, since that date, okay? And it's going to be 2 years as a motivational speaker in January 30th. So I hit the goal way early. So it's very important, the power of visualization. Since then, because I was a young parent, Joel's and I's cause for MBA is to help other young parents. So our vision is to help 40 young parents to achieve financial independence. And what I mean by that is no government assistance or no family assistance. When I hit my first year in sales, I made $39,000. Okay, 3.5 months, my wife was able to quit. I was a shy kid. My wife asked me out. That's how, she won't tell you that, but she did, okay? She asked me out, okay, that's how shy I was. And here I am, a motivational speaker. So this stuff works. So this class is going to teach you a couple things. Well, let's go into what we're going to talk about. It's going to be about the law of attraction. Law of attraction is basically the extended definition, and there's several definitions, is you attract into your life whatever you put your attention, energy, and focus to. But here's the kicker. It's whether positive or negative. In order to understand the law of attraction, you have to know what the law of vibration is. The law of vibration states that everything in the universe is made out of energy. We're made out of energy, animals, plants, grass. This table's made out of energy. This board is made out of energy. Dead bodies made out of energy. And a lot of people go, well, John, how could a dead body be made out of energy? It's dead. Well, the only way it can disintegrate is if it's still made out of energy, right? So everything is made out of energy. And like energy attracts like energy. So we attracted all this. It's kind of neat. You know, we're like-minded individuals. And the beautiful thing about this, we don't think alike. We're just like-minded individuals. So that's the beautiful thing about the Mastermind group. Now, with this in mind, you can have everything you want if you follow these 3 steps. The first one, I tell people you got to make the big D, the big decision. Like I mentioned to you, I made the decision, 1, to go off on my own. Even though I was offered to stay at home, I made a decision to become a motivational speaker. All you got to do is make the big D, the big decision. Second step, and I'll go into more detail as we go along, is expectation. you have to expect it to happen, because desire without expectation is just wishful thinking. Okay? And the last thing, most important, is you got to take action. Okay? And it's really weird, because once you make the big decision, eventually expectation just comes, and then it'll force you to take action. And I'll explain the process and how it works. Now we're going to do a fun little exercise. Some of you guys already know this exercise, so if you know the answer, please don't spoil it for everyone else. We're going to need both your hands. All right? What we're going to do is, now, first of all, you have to keep an open mind when we do this. Okay? Now, when I say open mind, remember our minds are like parachutes. They only work if they're open, right? So when we do this exercise, you got to make the decision that this is going to work. Then you got to expect it to work, and now we're about to take action. Okay, so if you look at your right hand, you see that there's lines on the palm of your hand, right? You go to the bottom where the wrist, or the hand attaches to the wrist, there's a line there, right? Look at your other hand. Line up both wrists where that line is, and as best as you can, make it as even as possible, and really stretch your fingers. But try to keep it even. Now, if you're normal, your middle finger is probably the longest, correct? Okay? Now, if you're really normal, one's probably longer, the middle finger. Okay, so you should have it in a prayer position. So go like this, okay? One of them should be longer. Like mine, my left one is shorter. Take the shorter finger hand. Now, if both are equal, congratulations, you're very symmetrical. But what you want to do is just pick one if you're completely symmetrical. So just take the shorter hand, put it like this. And don't worry, no one's going to slap it into your face. What you're going to do is you're going to look at this. Now, again, we're going to expect this to happen. We're going to say, believe it or not, grow longer. We're going to make it grow longer. Just 8 times. And we're going to say it all together out loud. And I'll count. Ready? Grow longer, 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 grow longer. Go ahead and line it up. Like mine grew. I don't know about you guys. Okay? Now, take the hand that just grew. If it did or didn't work, it doesn't matter. Just go with me here. Take that same hand that you just had and put it back down. We're going to shrink it now. Okay, believe it or not, it's only going to take 5 times, and we're just going to say back to normal. Okay? Back to normal, back to normal, back to normal, back to normal, back to normal. Go ahead. So I'm assuming based on the reaction or response, it worked for the majority of you. Is there anyone in here that it didn't work? Okay, so it worked for everybody. Now think about this now. A simple example, if your body can have a physical response to the right mindset, what can you do to your whole life? Matter of fact, and unfortunately I don't have this in PowerPoint, but you guys have all seen this. Is the glass half full or half empty? I'm assuming, since we're in a law of attraction group, everyone thinks it's half full, right? We're all optimists versus pessimists, right? But what's a better answer, it's 100% full. 100% full. Can you see that?
There's air.
What's that? There's air.
Water.
Yeah. The air is what makes it 100% full. And even a better answer is it's overflowing with air. So life is abundant. Does that make sense? Now, here's what happens. There's no belief here. We already see it. What this class is going to teach you, the true superachievers, is to see the opportunity in the invisible.
All right.
Okay, it's kind of like we were talking about real estate earlier. When you look at a dilapidated house that's boarded up, middle of Cleveland or any other city, people go, oh my gosh, it stinks in here, all this junk everywhere. But an investor goes, wow, you know, we could really turn this into something. See, it's turning the opportunity that you don't see, the invisible, into an opportunity. And that's what we're going to be teaching here. Let me see here. Okay, here's. We're going to go back to the old one. If I were to ask somebody here who does not know the answer, so let's say Eric, okay? You have this first class. If I were to ask you to draw a picture of the mind, what would you draw? Picture of the mind.
I would probably draw the brain.
Oh, interesting. Carrie, what would you draw?
Probably that with different components.
Okay, so sections in the brain.
Sections in the brain, maybe.
These are the most common answers.
There's nothing to draw.
Ooh, interesting. And he's absolutely right.
What did he say?
There's nothing to draw. Okay? But here's the funny thing. The most common answer is the brain. And the brain is not our mind. Mind is actually movement, and body's a manifestation of the movement. So actually our brain, or I'm sorry, our mind is just as much in our elbow as it is in our brain. Okay, but what Bob Proctor teaches, and this is the main foundational principle, is this stick person. This is a picture of the brain. I'm sorry, of the mind. Okay? Now this was not invented by Bob Proctor. It was invented by the late Dr. Thurman Fleet in 1934 out of San Antonio, Texas. What Dr. Fleet said, and hopefully you guys printed this out and you can take notes, is we live simultaneously on 3 planes. Okay? We're spiritual beings. We're gifted with an intellect, and we live in a physical body. Now, what Dr. Fleet found was in order to heal somebody, you had to heal all 3. You couldn't just heal the physical. You know, normally when you go to the doctor, you have an anxiety attack and they give you a pill. The pill just masks the real issue. Okay, it's kind of like, since I'm from the health club business, if we all, just worked out, we didn't have time to shower, so we put perfume and cologne, it's just a temporary mask. It's just a temporary mask. It doesn't really hit the cause. We're going to teach you how to hit the cause. So you can't just heal the physical, you have to heal all 3. Now this is the highest plane, our spiritual self, gifted with an intellect, the middle, and this is the lowest plane we live on. Okay? So let's go back to the picture of the mind. By the way, the reason why we work from this image, Solomon says, where there is no vision, the people will perish. You've heard that? It's a biblical statement. If the reason why he said that was because without a clear picture of the future, okay, there's no order in your life. And when there's no order, there's chaos. And when there's chaos, that's when people perish. And we do think in pictures. Okay, if I were to ask you to think a picture of your home, or think of a picture of your car, you don't flash upon the screen of your mind C-A-R or H-O-M-E. You flash upon the screen of your mind a picture of your home or a picture of your car, right? So that's what this is. We're going to work from the picture. So we know this isn't the true picture of the mind, but we have to work with something. All right? And so if you look, this represents the mind, the big circle. The smaller circle represents the body. Now, we all know our body's more obvious, so this is not a mistake. The reason why it's smaller is our body's just a dumb terminal. It just does what our mind tells it to do. This represents action or behavior. Action or behavior. Which, of course, produce the results you're getting in your life. Okay? So, there's 3 things that we need to do. Okay? Is we need to write these 3 letters. Happiness stands for health and wealth. Now, there's more areas in that. These are the main categories. There's subcategories from this. But what I need you to do is when you go home tonight is really think, where am I at when it comes to my happiness? And that could be relationships, spiritual, whatever. Where am I at in my health? And where am I at in my wealth? And then from there, you have to know where you want to go. Right? So then say, okay, where do I want to be in my happiness? Where do I want to be in my health? Where do I want to be in my wealth? Okay? So it's very important. So if we go back to the picture of the mind, we have 2 parts. We have our conscious mind, which is known as our thinking mind. By the way, that's how you live in the intellect. This is our intellect. And then we have the bottom part. So if you're imagining your head, you're the stick person, it's right here. Just look, down here is your subconscious mind, up here is conscious. That way you can work with it. Bottom part is your subconscious mind. It's known as our emotional mind. This is where all the paradigms are stored. Paradigms are a multitude of habits. So if you can think about it, just the habit of how you put your pants on. If you're a person who puts the right leg in first, imagine doing your left leg. You might actually slip. Okay? The good news is you can change your paradigms, and we're speaking hopefully of the bad paradigms, bad habits. We're going to teach you how to replace them. The vibration basically is what your vibratory rate your body is in. So if you look at the conscious mind, in the conscious mind, here's the difference. The conscious mind is where you can create ideas. This is where you can accept ideas. So you can say, John, I love this information. I'm accepting it. Or you can reject it. Or worse yet, you could neglect it. You could love this information and choose to neglect the information. That's procrastination, right? So that's the conscious mind. Subconscious mind, which is what most people call the higher self, this is where all the magic happens. The subconscious mind is where it only has the ability to accept. Very important. Only has the ability to accept. Has no ability to reject. So as you know, we all talk to ourselves. Not because we're crazy, but we all say, gosh, John, I think I can do this, or John, I can't do this. You have to be careful because there's positive self-talk and then there's negative self-talk, right? Remember, your subconscious mind can only accept. So if you tell yourself, I can't be a speaker, I can't build my business, there's no way I'm going to finish law school, guess what? This is your own personal yes man. Okay, yes sir, or yes ma'am, and I'm going to go ahead and make that happen. So it has no ability to reject. So if you can get that concept, that alone, that gold nugget right there is worth the price of this class being free. I'm just kidding. But the other thing is your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between an imagined event and a real event. That's why visualization works. If you remember listening to the DVD, Dr. Dennis Waitley hooked up very expensive biofeedback equipment to Olympic athletes and had them visualize the 100-meter dash. And when he visualized them, he found out that the same muscles, just by visualizing, still fired in the same sequence as if they were doing it for real. So it's very important that you understand why it's so important to visualize. Remember I told you I took a mental snapshot? Remember I told you I'm trying to help young parents? I'm already that motivational speaker. Now I'm adding more to the picture, more feelings. I can see the 40 students around me who are going to be, or the young parents who are going to give their testimony on how they change their life. See, that's how visualization works, and it happens. It's incredible. Anybody here have written goals? I appreciate the honesty. So 1, okay? 2, okay. Only 3% of the population exercise, or 3. Only 3%, I'm sorry, it's the exercise. 3% of the population writes goals. Okay, so if you don't have them, that's okay. You might have them up here, but you want to write them. And I want to tell you why. Goal setters are goal getters. And I'm going to show you this little graphic here. This is called the law of gender. Or this represents the law of gender. The law of gender states that every seed that we plant has a gestation or an incubation period. For example, we know that a typical baby takes what? 9 months, right? So we don't know, by the way, our thought seeds are made of the same substance. We just don't know what the gestation or the incubation period is. You've got to just take your best guess. So if you were to plant an acorn into the ground, eventually it grows into an oak tree, right? So what happens though is, what if a dog comes by? That dog would represent us as human beings and start digging up the seed, the acorn. Would it grow? No, right? It would stop the growth. This digging of the dog or yourself, if you're using a shovel, represents doubt. So when you doubt something, it's never going to happen. Does that make sense? So I'm going to give you a personal example. Remember, at 20 years old, I made 39. I got exposed to people who made all this money in the health club business with no college degree. So I said, at 25, I'm going to make $100,000. Guess how long it took me to get it? 36. 36 years old. It took me 11 years to get that. Now, granted, I hit it. Okay, goal setters are goal getters, so I hit it. But I don't want you to wait 11 years. I'll give you another example. My 15th anniversary, we went down to Myrtle Beach. And we went to the Harley store. I bought a Harley t-shirt, and I said to my wife, I said, I'm going to buy a Harley. I know, I don't look like your typical Harley guy, but I'm going to buy a Harley, okay? And I said, I want it for our 20-year anniversary. I got it in 18. How did I get it 2 years early? I managed a health club, several Harley riders. Somebody let me sit on their bike. A couple people did. I didn't even know Harley people did that, you know? And then they let me ride it, right? They let me ride it. I couldn't believe it. So when I visualized it, I knew what it sounded like, you know? And I felt it. So when I visualized it, guess what happened? It made it come sooner. So you have to visualize. You got to have goals. Goal setting is an intellectual exercise, but goal achievement is a lawful process. It just happens. So if we go back to the stick person, I'll kind of show you what happens. These are our 5 senses. They're hooked up like antennae into our conscious mind. And from there, you can either have a positive thought or you can have a negative thought. What happens is if you get all the distractions, so you could just put see, hear, smell, taste, touch. From there, let's say you get a thought, you have a positive thought. Positive thought puts you in a positive mindset, which puts your body in a positive vibratory rate, and you start attracting everything, right? This is what happens. Your actions go like this, which produce better results. Okay? So law of attraction. All right? So what had happened was, when I got the Harley, I was able to visualize. See? And I started attracting more members so that I could make more money, so I could get my Harley. Does that make sense? I started attracting the right people. All right? And that's what happened. My actions just kept going like this. Whereas, remember, the law of attraction can work the opposite. If you're just a negative person, or if you have friends that are negative, and you think a negative thought, put you in a negative mindset, would put you in a negative vibratory rate. So misery loves company. You start attracting other miserable people. And here's what happens. Your actions not only, maybe not even go sideways, it goes down. You do nothing, which produces very bad results. See, so when I say it again, goal setters are goal getters. With that in mind, goal setting is an intellectual exercise, so you write it. Okay? The reason why it's important, writing creates images, images creates visualization, pictures, see what I mean? So what happens is it's a lawful process. Goal achievement is a lawful process. Subconscious mind is going to make it come true. Okay? Does that make sense? So that's where we're at. Now, I don't know who has read this book?
Just started.
Okay, very good, very good. Most of you guys have read it. This, as you guys know, was written by Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill was commissioned by Andrew Carnegie at the time of this writing. His responsibility was to interview 500 of the most successful men and women at the time of writing. And here's what he found. He found that the key to their success was that they so developed their intellectual faculties that they can attract or acquire anything they want without violating the rights of others, which means no lying, cheating, stealing. Anybody know what the intellectual faculties are who haven't taken the class? No? It's right here. Here are the intellectual faculties. Okay, they're on the left side. Let me backtrack to this again, though, real quick. Remember, you're getting the information through your 5 senses. One thing I want to point out is no circumstance or person can make you think a thought. No circumstance or person can make you think a thought. The problem is too many people put the crown on that. What are we hearing in today's economy? Bad economy. See, we all want to blame the economy and why we're not successful, okay? Or we want to blame people. We want to blame our significant other, our spouses. We want to blame our bosses. We want to blame our children. Okay, now what happens when you start blaming, start pointing the finger, you guys have probably seen this. How many fingers are pointing right back at you? 3. So you got to take personal responsibility for it. So when you get cut off in traffic, before this class, you'll react and maybe give them the finger or whatever, okay? So, but see, that person who cut you off didn't make you think a thought. You thought the thought. Does that make sense? See, once you become aware of this, now you can say, you know what? Joel was just I wouldn't even know it was Joel. That person's just more of in a hurry. As you gain your awareness, what's going to happen is you're going to actually yield to these people now. Your life just completely changes. So you have to expand your level of awareness. So let's do these here, these intellectual faculties. Perceptions. Good.
What was the C again?
C is circumstance.
Thank you.
Okay? And the reason why I was able to make $39,000 at 20 years old, being a shy kid, was besides the sales training and I had a good mentor, was because I was taught by, I think it was Tom Hopkins or Zig Ziglar, the economy is right in between your ears. It's what you think. At Bob Proctor, we teach that you create your own economy. See, proactive versus reactive is how Stephen Covey talks about it. So if you're in sales and you're relying on door traffic, reactive is waiting for the door traffic, which you can't control. But you can control the appointments. So you can go out and be proactive. So create your own economy. So perception. Perception is basically how you look at something. These are also known as not only our intellectual faculties, but our mental muscles. These are all perfect. Unless you have some sort of mental disability, these are all perfect. Okay, they just need work. Just like we can build our bodies up with weights, you can build your intellectual faculties up. Perception is, for example, Jeanette, if I asked you, is there writing on this? She would say yes, right? Almeida, is there writing on this? She would say no. Okay? Yes. Who's right, though? Who's right? Jeanette's right from her point of view. Almeida's right from her point of view, but it's not who's right or wrong, it's what works. Okay? So if Jeanette's saying good economy, Almeida's saying bad, who's got a better business? Probably you, right? So use perception in a way where you're always looking for the gold in something, I guess is the summary. Okay? Will. Will is not this kind of will, force will. It's the ability to stay focused on something to the exclusion of all the outside distractions you're getting. There's nothing more powerful than a mind made up. Okay? If you think of the Roger Bannister story, Roger Bannister was the guy who ran the first 4-minute mile. In 1956, he was told by the whole medical community that if you ran the 4-minute mile, your heart would actually explode out of your chest cavity. That's what they said. Doesn't that sound stupid today?
Yeah.
But that's the whole medical community said that. All right? But a mind there's nothing more powerful than a mind made up. So what he did was he went and used that on the positive side and said, no, I'm going to do it. And he did it. Since then, thousands have run it. Imagination, probably the most powerful, although we can say that about every one of them. Imagination, there's two things. One, it takes no more energy to dream big than it is to dream small. On the goal cards that we teach, in the back of here is the Goal Achiever by Michelangelo. The greatest danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it, but our aim is too low and we reach it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add something too. You probably know it, but after Bannister broke the 4-minute mile, very shortly after, I think 3 more runners broke the 4-minute mile. After he showed that it can be done,
Yeah?
then several other runners broke it very, very, very soon after. So it's
Yeah.
just amazing how that happened. And they were all world-class runners, none of them could break it, but he broke it, and then the rest of them broke it too.
Right. Roger saw, remember that glass half empty? He saw the air. He saw the opportunity in the invisible.
Same thing happened with Chuck Yeager and breaking the sound barrier. Everybody thought it was physically impossible to break the sound barrier and survive because they believed that anything that we made would not survive breaking the sound barrier. And as he got closer and closer and closer, the rocket that he was in was put under tremendous stress, but then just before he broke the sound barrier, but he didn't quite break it, but just before, things smoothed out and then he broke the sound barrier, and after that,
Thank you. I'm going to borrow that if you don't mind.
yeah.
So that's Chuck Yeager's story. Imagination, no more energy to dream big and dream small. This is important. Since it doesn't take any more energy to dream big than it is to dream small, and your subconscious mind can't tell the difference between an imagined event and a real event, it's important to think big. Not realistic, big. Okay? Because your subconscious mind's going to make it come true if you do it with emotion. All right? Think about this. Imagination can change the belief system. You guys just said it. Okay, the Roger Bannister and Chuck Yeager completely changed the belief system. So all those doctors, the whole medical community said it was physically impossible. Heart would explode out of your chest cavity. That sounds ridiculous today. But it changed their whole belief system. All right, memory. Anyone here have a bad memory?
Not anymore.
Okay. Yeah, not anymore, right? Okay, now memory. With memory, we all have perfect memories. If we have a good hypnotist that walks in here and she hypnotizes any one of us, she could actually make any one of us recollect anything that's ever happened in our life. Okay? So we have perfect memories. Here's the thing though. These paradigms, these habits, probably aren't even yours. A lot of them are your parents or your older brothers and sisters. Because remember, as it goes into the subconscious mind and gets embedded in there, it can only accept it. So people who say they have a bad memory, I'd be willing to bet they grew up with somebody in their household that said, I think I have a bad memory. I have a bad memory. I have a bad memory. It keeps getting embedded. So now all of a sudden you go, my mom had a bad memory. I think I have a bad memory. It wasn't even your habit. It was her habit. And it was probably her mother's habit. You know, it's just like why dishes get passed on. You know, like if you have cooked good lasagna or something, it just keeps going. So once you realize that fact, you could realize and go, oh my gosh, there's a ton of information on the internet, right? I'm going to find out how I can strengthen my memory, and now I just changed my paradigm, my habit. Does that make sense? So if you understand that concept, a lot of those habits you have, they're not even yours. Statute of limitations, we got a lot of attorneys in here. What does that mean, Alvita?
The period within which you must do a certain thing or bring an action or be a stop thereafter.
In other words, if I wanted to sue somebody and yesterday was the last day, I can no longer sue them, right? So what I'm saying is, whatever's happened in your past, we all have it. I mean, I told you guys my story. When are you going to, stop. Statute of limitations expires today as of this class. Stop letting your past keep you down. Okay, statute of limitations. It's over now. Don't let what happened to you from your father or your mother or whatever. I know it's easier said than done. I don't know what anyone's issues are, but we all have them. I mean, I think even the ones who think they had a normal life, you even have them. Believe me, everyone's got them. So just remember that. Intuition. Intuition is the ability to feel that vibration. You know, that's when you like somebody immediately or dislike somebody, or maybe you feel, oh, I'm kind of in a tough neighborhood, or you feel like you're gonna get mugged. That's the intuition. Dr. Wayne Dyer says, if prayer is us talking to God, then intuition is God talking to us. So it's very important to listen to that inner voice. Very important. And the last thing is reason. Even though it's listed last, it's, again, I can say this about every one of them, reason is very important. It gives us the ability to reason or think through. Okay, now, I'm going to throw some statistics out at you. Only 2% of the population thinks. 3% of the population thinks they think, and the other 95% would rather die than think. When I first heard that, I said, come on, Bob, that's wrong. You know, but if you really watch people, and we've all done it, I've done it myself, where you say something before you thought, and you regret it. Especially if there's alcohol involved, right? so what happens is it's very important, and I'll just kind of fast forward a 65-year-old and older population, for those of you guys who are in finances. They say that 5% are independently wealthy. I think 1% are extremely wealthy, the other 4% are able to live off their, you know, their investments. At 65, the other 95%, I think it's like 38% are deceased. Okay? Then there's like 5% who have to continue to work, and the other, whatever the balance is, are either living off Social Security or family. It's usually not enough. That's why when you go anywhere, you find an older person that doesn't want to work, they have to work because they have no choice. So now it starts making you think. Yes, people don't think. You know, they're getting herded with the masses. You know, that's why in The Secret they say 3% of the population controls 97% of the income. Okay? And I'll just prove it to you real quick. Go like this, and again, if you know this, don't spoil it for everyone else. Okay, make a circle with your right, left hand, doesn't matter. As quickly as you can, put it on your chin. Quick, quick, quick. Okay, now if you look, where's everyone's chin? Most of you guys have it on your cheek. See, we all get hurt. Yeah, it's like Simon says, we all get hurt, right? I'll give you another example. Try to finish the statements. Chevy like a rock. Nike just do it. See, we're all programmed. That's why these superstars get paid mega millions of dollar contracts, because every time we think Michael Jordan, the guy's retired, we still think Nike, we still think underwear or Gatorade. I don't know what else he peddles. You know? But so Les Brown says, if you don't program yourself, life will program you.
Yeah.
Okay, and one thing I got to tell you, when you look at your results, don't base your future results on your current report card. Okay? See, anyone can think positive when life is good, you're making money, when your marriage is perfect, your kids are acting perfect. That's nothing. That's the water, the glass where we see it. It's when you are going through financial situations, your marriage is being challenged, your kids are being tough. That's when true character comes out, when you're squeezed. Keith?
2 questions.
Sure.
One, can you just very quickly summarize Will? And 2, can you give us the statistics again about the wealth money? One, you said 1% are, you know, truly independently wealthy.
Yeah, they say like 65-year-old?
Yeah, or whatever it was. I didn't quite catch that.
Okay. Let's go to Will first. Will is the ability to stay focused mentally on something to the exclusion of all the outside distractions. And what I said was there's nothing more powerful than a mind made up. That's when we brought up the Roger Bannister story. Okay? Now, there's exercises you can do. You can sit at home in your favorite chair, light a candle about 5 to 7 feet in front of you, or you can do it at the end of the room if you want, and stare at the candle, at the flame, I mean. It's natural for us to go on thought trips, right? As soon as you find yourself going on a thought trip, focus right back on the candle. So that is one way, a simple exercise. There's meditation, there's visualization, but that's how you stay focused. So you can work these mental muscles, right? All of these. Memory, if you thought you had a bad memory or you just were, I just opened up your level of awareness, or you know what I mean? There's all this information on the internet you can get on how to help your memory. Now that you know that it wasn't even your paradigm, it was somebody else's. Okay? And then Keith, the other one, or for everyone actually, it's this here. When you reach 65, they say 5%, of the 5%, 1% are really wealthy. The other 4% are able to live off their investments. And then the bottom 95%, it's somewhere around 36 to 38 are deceased. Okay? Then there's 5% that have to continue working. And then the balance of those are having to live off of Social Security or family assistance, and that's usually not enough, so they usually are working. okay? Did I answer that, Keith?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, now, so we only got like 2 minutes. If you guys have to leave, a couple minutes, if you gotta leave, you gotta leave. Okay, it's no problem. This is really, really important, this next point. So this right here, this cloud, will represent your current self-image. You will never outperform your current self-image on a permanent basis. Again, this cloud represents your current self-image. This is a paradigm. You will never outperform your current self-image, at least on a permanent basis. The reason why is our minds work just like autopilot on an airplane or that thermostat in the room. It's governed. We govern ourselves with how we think of ourselves. In other words, if you think of the airplane, if you're in Cleveland and let's say you're flying to New York, and you leave Cleveland and all of a sudden your plane experiences unexpected turbulence, so you go off course, as soon as the pilot kicks on the autopilot sends a message to the computer system which adjusts the engine speed, the thrust, the wings, right, adjust, and it goes right back on course, right? That's exactly how your subconscious mind works. So I'm going to give 3 different examples. If you're a teacher and you have a D student, okay? What happens is as teachers, as parents, and we have a D student, they have a D mindset. Of course, we're going to put pressure on them, right? What happens is they get lucky and they get a B+. Here's the problem. As soon as you hit that B+, the subconscious mind kicks in, that current self-image, it sends a signal to the brain, which sends a signal to the nervous system, which causes them to go back to their old habits of not studying and not paying attention, and they go right back to being a D student. Okay, that's the student example. Since I'm was in the health club business, a person who wanted to lose weight. Someone came into the club and said, I want to lose 60 pounds. She goes, John, I don't get it. I'm joining a club. This was going to be her first day. She was going to join that day. I went to Target before I came here to buy water. So I'm going down the aisles, and lo and behold, the snack aisle is right here. She goes down the snack aisle and buys 2 bags of potato chips. She goes, I don't get it. I sabotage myself. And this is what I told her. I said, you have a 60-pound overweight woman, and this could be a male just as easily, 60-pound overweight person mentality. That's your current self-image. What happened was you were going off that course, and you were joining a club, you were buying water, subconscious mind kicked in, okay? And then it caused you to go down the snack aisle, because that's your habit, okay? And I'll give you one last example if you're in sales, okay? If you're in sales, we all know the realtor card that says $1 million producer, right? Let's say at the beginning of the year, January, they sell $500,000 that month. If you do the math, wouldn't that be $6 million at the end of the year? Right? If you do the math. Here's what happens though. Their thing is only $1 million. Their mindset. It's actually gonna say, uh-oh, wait a minute, I'm well ahead of pace, okay? Subconscious mind's going to kick a message to the brain, which is going to kick a message to the nervous system, and they're going to stop making the calls they took, all their prospecting, and it's going to cause them to go down. That's why for you guys who are on multi-level marketing, your team's going to suffer from that. You know, because they all want to be millionaires when you get into multi-level marketing, right? But why aren't they doing it? It's because of this right here. They don't really see themselves. See, people are actually afraid of success. Okay? And it's because of their paradigms. It's what their environment was they grew up in. Oh, you can never make it $1 million. You've got to go back to school. All that stuff that they got growing up. So how do you combat that? Anybody know? We're out of time. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. How do you combat that, okay?
Don't join the $1 million club.
Yeah, that's right. Here's what you do. You build what's called the winner's image, consciously. Which, by the way, is one of the programs I teach, Winner's Image. Okay, you can buy the home study course. But you build a winner's image and you embed it into the treasury of your subconscious mind. Now, I'm going to give you the concept. It's not as easy as I'm saying. There's only 2 ways you can embed it, though. Okay? One is emotional impact. That's death. That's a birthday. Isn't it an emotional impact for a lot of people? Oh no, I'm 40. Oh, I'm 41 now. Oh no, I'm 50. A lot of people join the health club around that. Okay? Every time a birthday comes, right? Divorce, death, 911 type event, you get scared into doing it. We don't want that to happen. We want you to consciously make your future. So the other way is constant and spatial repetition with emotion backed by the expectation. Remember, desire without expectation is wishful thinking. Also remember, our subconscious mind is emotional mind. That's why you have to do it with emotion. So you can visualize all you want, but if you don't do it with emotion, it's never going to happen. You have to put the emotion. So when I visualize either the speaking or I visualize my Harley, I could literally feel that Harley's underneath me. Okay? Does that make sense? But if I was just going, wow, what is it? It's never going to happen. Like my income goal that took me 11 years. I was doing this. I was doubting it. Because we had wars that happened over those 11 years. We had different presidents, in office and all that. Didn't say that right, but you know what I mean. So it's constant and spatial repetition. Okay? Think about anyone who works out, right? Does your bicep get that much bigger in one workout? No. 10 workouts, a little bit. 30 workouts later. 100 workouts later. It's constant and spatial repetition. You guys certainly didn't learn the tax laws overnight. Okay, or the laws, whatever you're practicing, okay? It was constant and spatial repetition. What I teach in my workshops, one of the best time management techniques is study an hour a day. It's worth 7 hours of physical. What would you rather do, 7 hours of physical or 1 hour of mental? 1 hour a day worth 7 hours of physical. Best time management technique you could have is, that's how you work smarter, okay? So, let me see here. Questions? Joel, am I missing anything, or you want to add anything?
No, just want everybody to homework.
Yep. Constant and spatial repetition. In the Winner's Image program, it comes with a DVD. I'll give you an example. And believe it or not, you're supposed to listen to it 90 times. 90 days in a row. Most people who bought it from me have not lasted that long. Did I? Yes. That's why I memorized this thing. I could actually finish Bob Proctor's line almost. Okay? And then I've bettered it. That's why I memorized this thing. And it does. And actually, this isn't even the whole thing on there. But you listen to it 90 days in a row. Over and over and over. Bob Proctor, I get him Thursday nights as a coach. He coaches me since I'm one of his coaches. And beautiful thing is 80% of the time he's on the call. It's beautiful. He'll say, go to chapter 2, read that first paragraph 30 days in a row, 60 days in a row, 90 days in a row. And that's why he's got this internalized. So as much as he's mastered this and he's got his own system, he's still doing that. It's incredible. So you have to, it's just constant and spatial repetition, and then eventually what happens is, this will always be there. Okay, but here's the difference. It'll work in the opposite. Instead of always going down the snack aisle, you'll actually start eating healthy. Every once in a while you'll go down the snack aisle. It works the opposite. Okay, if you're that student, now you're a B+ student or even an A student, and occasionally you'll get a C. See, it works the opposite. So that's why this is important. This is always going to be here. That's why we sometimes sway back. It's just real small now. So, see, that's what happens. You think a thought, it gets embedded into the treasury of the subconscious mind, sets you up in a good vibratory rate. And if you were thinking positive, it goes like this. If you're thinking negative, it goes like this. One last final point. In life, you're either growing or you're dying. There's no in between. This is called the comfort zone. Complacency. Bob Proctor says if you're not standing on the edge, you're taking too much room. That's what he says. So it's actually better to challenge yourself, believe it or not. Now, there is nothing wrong with thinking okay in the comfort zone. But rest assured, your life's not getting better, it's getting worse. Because by law, you're going up or down. And I promise you, if you're just standing still, you're not standing still, you're going down. And an example would be somebody that we've all seen this, maybe it's even yourself. You did all this work to get promoted. You kick your feet up now. We call it manageritis at the health club. You kick your feet up on the desk, and you don't do the things you did to get to the promotion, you get demoted. Or you quit, or you step down voluntarily, or whatever. Okay? Whereas if people understand this principle, it's constant and never-ending improvement. Study an hour a day, it's worth 7 hours of physical. If you study an hour a day, prepaid legal, Visalis, I promise you, law school, whatever it is, I promise you, you will stand out like a giraffe in a herd of field mice. It's happened in my career. My last 12 months over at the club, I hit 11 out of 12 months, either my profit numbers or my quotas. The next manager, I'm exaggerating if I say 4 months. I'm not kidding you. And am I that much better than the next person? No way. But what I did do was 1% a day better, which adds up to a lot. Success is a progressive realization of a worthy idea. Okay, and all you're having to do is 1% better, because it is physically impossible for me to be almost 3 times better than the next manager. You know what I mean? But what I did do is 1%, 5% a day, every day, so that I can stand out like a giraffe and herd of field mice. And as you can see, I'm not that tall. You know? So,
You thought you were.
yeah, I thought I was. I thought I was. I visualized it.
There you go.
Any questions? I mean, there's a lot of information, but the more you study this thing will literally change your life. Imagine showing your sales forces how to teach this to their people. I mean, really. Any one of these little mini golden nuggets like this, now you understand how your subconscious mind keeps you governed. It won't let you get out of there. Question? Sure.